What's going on, everybody? You know who it is. It is your boy Elijah Best. I'm the CEO and founder of VetBoss, and I'm also known as VetBoss. Let's go. Today we have a beautiful soul. Her name is Karen Iveson, and I was on a call with her the other day. She started speaking about positive intelligence, and I have a buddy of mine. His name is Chris Rodriguez, and he is a very positive guy. I use positivity to really drive my life. So when she talked about positive intelligence, my ears perked up like Scooby-Doo. And I was learning on the call with her. So I said, Karen, you being a bad ASS Marine Corps veteran, I think you're an awesome candidate to talk about positive intelligence. So you guys know how I like to do. I like to keep it very natural and just flow and just try to bring you guys as much value as possible, connect with other like-minded veterans so we can help the community together. And so, Karen, can you please introduce yourself? Where you from? What you've been up to? What's popping?
Well, my name is Karen, nothing to do with the meme. And I, as you mentioned, I am a Marine Corps veteran. And as I've had to deal with the whole Karen meme, I decided to, on the topic of positivity, I might as well have fun with it if I have to deal with it. So that's, there is some social media that I list that as my last name is nothing to do with the meme. So as you mentioned, I have a military Marine Corps background. I have law enforcement background, and then there's an entire eclectic mix following that. Most people look at my resume and like, how did you end up here? But here is now California. And about 4 years ago, somebody referred to me as their life coach, gave me pause. And I realized now that I'm certified, yes, professionally, I've been a coach for 4 years, but really I've been practicing for, closer to 25 years. It goes back to when I was working in the jail and I had the ability to speak positivity into the lives of women who probably never heard it before in their lives. I loved having those conversations with them. And, especially the ones that you could tell by the look on their face, that was the first time that they were in jail. And those were the ones that I really wanted to, make an impression on them that this isn't the life that you have to live. You can make a difference. Everybody has a purpose and they can use that purpose to have a positive impact on the world. And that's kind of what I was doing. So that's really where I got started with coaching. About 2 months ago, I was selected to be a part of a positive intelligence coach grant program. So I was able to go through the program at no charge. And its intent was to train coaches on positive intelligence, but starting with you doing the work. So this isn't about me learning how to coach other people. This was about me learning about it, adding it to my life and going, wow. And that's essentially what I'm doing now. It has made such a difference in my stress level. My current day job is in workers' compensation. High demand, high stress, high anxiety. They want more from you than you could actually get done in a day. And since I've started the program, I have the Apple Watch and I have the stress level app. And my stress level was in the caution zone Monday through Friday consistently.
Oh my God.
And now it's rare for it to be in the caution zone. And I have the days where it's like I'm in the green, because I'm doing so much better. And so positive intelligence is really mental fitness. So we go to the gym and, you have to start out at the beginning. You have to start out with the lightweight and it's just practice and repetition. And just because I'm done with this 6-week program does not mean I'm done. Now I'm moving on to the next level. I'm learning more. I'm continuing the repetitions every single day. And what that looks like is it's basically mindfulness-based exercises. But you don't have to have that quiet space to do it. I can do it. As a matter of fact, I was doing it right before we started just to make sure I was in that right mindset, to not listen to that negative self-talk, doubt, my ability to have this conversation or, to speak on that imposter syndrome, showing up. You can do it wherever. You can do it I could do it right now as we were talking. Like I could just kind of rub my fingers together and kind of focus in on what that feels like. And it can short circuit that negative self-talk, which in the program is called the saboteurs.
Yes.
And you and I talked about this a little bit on Monday. We all have the judge saboteur. We judge ourselves. We're probably our own worst enemy in that. We judge others, and then we judge circumstances as being unfair. And it has its value into alerting us it to a problem similar to putting your hand on a burner, but you take it off. And if when we sit in those saboteur negative self-thought, it's like leaving that hand on the burner and just letting your and complaining about it, but still leaving your hand there. So what he teaches us to, his name is Shirzad, is the one who put these puzzle pieces together, did research, wrote a book on it, and now he's got this program. And so what he teaches is label it. Okay, well, there's the judge or the 9 accomplice saboteurs. So there's hyper achiever, hyper vigilant, hyper rational. There's the controller, there's the stickler, there's the pleaser, the avoider, restless, and victim. Yes, I remembered them all. So some of those might resonate. I think hyperachiever probably resonates with a lot of veterans. And that's just putting too much focus on your accomplishments, too much focus on, somebody else validating what you're doing instead of seeing the value in yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's labeling it up. There's my judge again, or there's the hyperachiever or the avoider. Like the stress and anxiety can trigger us to be like, nope, I don't even want to deal with it. And then we procrastinate, and then the stress gets even worse. Or another one that being the pleaser is that we want to make somebody else happy, but to a fault. So mm-hmm. all of these have a value, but it becomes a problem when we take it too far. So we label the saboteurs. We do some, he calls them PQ reps. That's the mindfulness-based exercises. And then we get into kind of a sage power of how can we empathize? How can we explore? How can we innovate? How can we navigate? And how can we activate? How can we do something productive? Because everything has the possibility of being productive. Even the bad things doesn't take away, and I think that some people can have a hesitation, doesn't take away, if something, unfortunate, challenging, difficult happens, it doesn't take away that, but there's something that can be learned from it, something you can do productive with it. So that is positive intelligence and the mental fitness in a nutshell.
Thank you for sharing that. So let's kind of hone in on the judging one, because mm-hmm. judging is something that I struggled with, and it happens to be something I'm very focused on, because when I judge someone, it feels like I'm chewing on my own brain. And I would like you to talk about first how this looks like in somebody who may be judging, and what they can do to flip that into a positivity.
Absolutely. So say you're dealing with somebody, one of the best applications is, like say your significant other. Mm-hmm. So they say something that's kind of curt, something, that kind of triggers, that, how dare you talk to me, or how dare you say that to me? And it triggers you to retort back with something, that is negative and, kind of digs at them. And so now you're caught in the saboteur judging each other loop. And you don't even need,
because you're flowing great, but what is a saboteur?
The judge is one of the saboteurs. Gotcha. So it's the chief saboteur that everybody has. Everybody does it. Then you have other accomplice saboteurs. You can go to positiveintelligence.com/resource. At the bottom of the page, you can do 2 assessments. One is the saboteur assessment, see what your top 3 are. And then the other one is just to see, where you fall on the positive intelligence quotient. Okay. And there's also a brief description when you do that saboteur assessment. So, but as like I said, the judge is the chief. We all do it. We all do it to ourselves. We all do it to others, and we all do it to circumstances when we, we're late and we hit every single red light on the way there. It's like, we all have those moments. And so we can get mad, we can get pissed off, we can get frustrated, or we can look at that as an opportunity to mentally prepare for whatever we're on our way to. Going back to the relationship, I was just having this conversation where, so somebody, makes a snide remark that, their significant other's overweight and they need to do something about it before they drop dead. And so that triggers them into that negative, response of, either don't tell me what to do, or, something along that lines. But instead, flipping the script, you can look at the empathy side and realize that that's really coming out of a place of concern.
Mm.
That loved one doesn't actually want you to drop dead. They want you to stick around. They really want you to make positive changes. Their delivery was lacking. And so that person has the ability to then, what I'm hearing, and show that empathy is what I'm hearing is, I understand you're concerned about my health. I understand that you want me to stay around, stay around. You don't want anything to happen to me, and then build on that.
You know what I love about what you just said is I find that one could look at this as having the discipline to focus on the right thing. But I think that right now, not even just right now, but I think a lot of us, we didn't grow up with all the tools. And so sometimes we just don't know where to direct our focus. Then after we know that, we just got to start practicing it. So are you saying the place to focus on would be the source of compassion?
It's, to me, the easiest gateway into the sage powers, because from there you can explore. You could ask questions about what's behind their concerns. And then you can look at, you can build ideas. If you take the concept that there's something valid in every person and every point that they make, no matter how, somebody makes a suggestion, you're like, oh, that's utterly ridiculous. That will never work. But what's one thing about that could work in that suggestion? Mm-hmm. And then build on it. It's called the yes and game.
The yes
so, the yes and game. So what I like about, what you just said is, that you showed the concern about, my health. And what I would add to it is, let's do this together and let's be a team, or, and build on it. And then you can do that in team meetings. Somebody who's a team leader, or supervisor or CEO can use this and get brainstorming back to what it's meant to be. Because right now we all sit there and go, I don't want to speak up because I don't want to look like the idiot. But if you turn it into a game and you turn it into everybody having fun, finding what that one thing that they like about that suggestion and building on it, now you get some innovative ideas.
Yeah, and you just made me lethal in business, because there's sometimes where somebody says something to me and I agree with them, but I'm like tiptoeing into how I'm telling them because there's a part I disagree with. So now I could just say yes, and that just one tool alone, I could just keep using that and keep the conversations really smooth. So I appreciate that value.
Yeah, you're focusing on what you like. Just completely ignore the rest of what you don't like. You don't focus on it.
Wow.
So here's the beauty of, so I'm continuing, like I said, with this positive intelligence program. As one of their coaches, I get to gift up to 5 people at a time, 30 people a year, to go through this program at no charge.
Woo-wee! Let's go. So are you saying that you'd be kind enough to give at least one person from the VetBoss community free access to that?
Absolutely.
Cool.
It's a 6-week program. It's about an hour-long video once a week on the weekends. It releases on Saturday. The goal is to have watched all of it by Monday. And then Monday through Friday, there's about 20 minutes worth of essentially practice. Reminding you to do the PQ reps throughout the day. They have a daily focus in the morning. They have 3, we call them 2-minute power breaks, where you take 2 minutes. Like I have mine set at 9 a.m., noon, and 3 p.m., where I take 2 minutes, listen to the video, and figure out how to apply it. One of them's, usually like anticipating what's, a struggle that you anticipate having today. And then at noon and 3, it'll be, okay, we'll bring up a past one and now reimagine it under the whole positive intelligence framework. How would you like to have done it? And by visualizing it, you're much more likely to start doing that in the future.
So you're go ahead, please.
And then the last thing is a kind of a journal. Ask 1 or 2 questions, and they, you can reflect on your progress throughout the program.
Yeah, it's guaranteed to work because they're literally creating a new neural pathway in their brain.
That is exactly the basis, is developing those new neural pathways. And it starts with that SelfCommand muscle. That very first week, what we practice is just practicing the positive intelligence, the PQ reps, and just being present in the moment. You know, what are you feeling? What are you hearing? What's the farthest away thing that you can hear? You know,
That's good.
focus on your toes. Like, feel your toes. It's, you know, feel the weight of your seat in your seat. You know, how your body feels in the seat. It's things we don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
But when we focus in on it, it shuts off that negative loop.
Okay. It shuts off the negative. Oh, okay. So by putting your attention somewhere else, the negative loop gets shut off.
Yep.
What I wanted to ask was, can you talk more about this self-command muscle?
That's the making that choice, and mind will wander. And that, I think that some people's frustration with developing mindfulness is I'm not good at it. You know, I'm not cut out for this is easily the excuse we use, but that's our saboteurs not wanting to give up their position that they have on us. But so the self-command muscle is making that intention of, okay, I'm going to work on this for the next 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 12 minutes. The longer of a stretch you can do, it does not matter. And it is perfectly normal for your brain to go off into directions. We've been doing this wrong for so long. It takes time and it takes practice. And so he's got this app that we use, and we go to the PQ gym, and you know, that's where we go and we practice the self-command muscle is those PQ reps.
Wow. Okay. So I got hyperachiever. Can you slowly go through at least a couple of the saboteurs?
Sure. Well, I can start off with my three right off. my three accomplice. One is the hyperachiever, and I had put all of my self-worth in, okay, well, I need to be successful at this, and I need to, you know, hold myself to the standard. And if and the problem is when I make mistakes, that's where my judge comes in. I start beating myself up and tearing myself down, but I'm not, it puts me in that stress and that anxiety, and that I'm not learning, you know? And so I get into doing the PQ reps, and I get into, okay, it's just a non-emotional discernment of, okay, well, how did I make this mistake? How should it have been done? And how can I do it right in the future?
I think that's so important to realize, because as a business owner, I've had to learn that when you're in a negative state, you really can't grow or make wise decisions. You're just pretty much stuck in that place. And if you stay stuck, then you start spiraling down. It's no bueno. So
it's like your brain is LA traffic on Friday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. Okay, so we went over a hyper achiever. What's the second one?
So avoider is another one.
Yeah.
Avoider, that's, you know, when you get into kind of that mindset that, you know, when you get too positive, almost like you don't even want to acknowledge anything difficult. You just want to stay in that positive world.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just put off and avoid dealing with anything that isn't positive.
Yes.
But you have to deal with the stressors. You have to deal with difficult people. Somebody was in our coach discussion, like, how do I deal with, you know, going to lunch every day with a narcissist? You know, and so it's like we break it, because in the work world, we cannot get away from difficult personalities. We cannot avoid them as much as we would like to. And that was, for a while, my solution. Like, if I had a narcissistic style boss, okay, all right, well, I'm just going to quit and go to another job, which is great until that person promotes, and now you've got a new boss, and now you're dealing with their difficult personality. You can't avoid it. You have to learn how to deal with it. And part of that is still looking at what's their value. What value do they bring to the table? Because, and I did my bachelor's degree senior project on the difference between grandiose and vulnerable narcissism. And one of the things I took away was narcissism isn't all bad. I know.
I mean, it makes sense, but keep going, please. Yeah.
There is, that's what keeps us from being doormats. So there is a healthy level. It's just when it gets toxic is when you are now trampling all over somebody else to be successful. Now we're getting into like that toxicity. When you're tearing somebody else down in order to elevate yourself. So that's the avoider. And, you know, when you sit down and you explore the different ways to learn from it and to deal with it, then you can, you know, get to that, you know, the activate and take action. What are all the steps I need to take? What's the next step I have to take? And just do it.
One sec. What you said that was so powerful, because there's probably at least one person like, what's he right now? Was try to find something positive about narcissists. That's powerful. I have a question. I was talking to one of my mentors yesterday, and I asked him, what does compassion mean to him? And because you've gotten in this area, it seems like you have some type of level of compassion that you've had to have developed.
Oh, yeah.
Could you just speak on compassion and why it's important, or however you want to put it, please?
I think, well, compassion is really, I find I struggle with it the most towards myself. I have no problems empathizing with somebody as they're learning, you know, a brand new, you know, like getting into the workers' comp field. I've had assistants and this is their first day in the industry, let alone, you know, in this position. I have tons of compassion because I've been there and I remember what it's like to be there. But then my hyperachiever comes in and says, you know, that's fine for you to show that towards them, but you can't show that to yourself. So I have not been historically very good at compassion for myself. And the last 6 weeks, I've really focused on that, to remember that we all make mistakes. We all learn. It's learning a new skill is no different than a, you know, infant learning how to walk.
Yes.
You know, if we somehow along the way have forgotten that new skills take time to develop, we don't just start off, you know, great at it. We just, well, this is too difficult, so I'm not going to do it. Well, how important is it to you to get to that end goal?
Yes. I would love to touch on that if you don't mind. So what I've learned with myself is I post a lot how I run a lot of miles. Oh my gosh. Compassion for yourself. That's good. Never thought of that. Wow. Creating impact. Thanks, Karen.
You're right.
So I run a lot, right? And so people could look at me and be like, oh, Elijah, you're a runner, blah, 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 blah. But what a lot of people don't know is I was like 30 pounds heavier, maybe only like, 5 months ago. And it almost made it that much worse for me to start running because I'm like, I want to go right back to where I used to be running. And if I don't, then I would kind of beat myself up. And now it turns into this process of me thinking about the positive side about running, not actually running, and then beating myself up if I can't run the way I used to run. So it's just a really bad relationship with running. And so in the process of me now, I run a lot and I basically broke through it. But what I learned, what I'd like to share is that for me, I had to forget about all that and just try to have fun with it. Because embarrassing story, there is this app I downloaded. Sometimes you see these. No, it was my fault. It wasn't an ad. I went on Reddit and I looked for this video game. I said, what's a really addicting game that's fun you can play with your spouse? Right. And it said, I'm going to tell you guys what it is. The next thing you know, you're going to put so many hours into this game. So next thing you know, I find that like I had all these trophies in this game. And I was like, wow, you know, I got so far in this game because I was having fun. And so now with running, I don't run for health, as weird as that may sound. I literally run for fun. But I just looked at it and I ran like over 500 miles this year. So I just wanted to share. It's not about how many miles I ran. I just wanted to share that only happened because I just looked at it as, how can I have fun with this thing? Then after you have fun with the thing and then you're like, oh, wow, I'm good at this thing. Then you're like, let's set a goal with this thing. That's just what I wanted to share.
And that's so similar to what you were just mentioning. I was on the yo-yo dieting hamster wheel for 30 years, never maintained my weight loss for more than 2 to 3 months. And then suddenly I was 8 months into maintaining my weight loss and I need to figure out what I did differently. And a lot of it was my mindset towards why I was doing it, because I hit that plateau. And in that, I almost went, well, obviously this this eating plan isn't for me. But the conversation I had with myself was, well, even if I don't lose another pound, I'm still, I think, 13 pounds better off than I was before. And I know if I go back to the way I was eating, I'm not only going to put that 13 pounds back on, I'm going to continue putting more weight back on. So that conversation, that mindset shift is really what helped me stick through it. And then, you know, I learned all kinds of things along the way as far as, you know, your battle to both lose, but even more importantly, maintain weight loss is all mindset.
And what I'd also like to add to what you just shared is that, wouldn't you agree, or would you agree, I should say, but I feel like you're going to agree, that because you're an entrepreneur and you've made it far in, like, you know, areas. So it's like, I know, okay, let me speak for myself. You could work so hard on the thing and miss so many days, but then when you've done it for a long time, you could actually look back and be like, well, I got somewhere. And then that's like enough encouragement to keep going. So the message in that was really like, even if you feel sloppy in your process and you feel like you're missing a whole bunch of days, that still adds up.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Every day you build that, you do it, and you get back to it, you're not, and that's actually when I work with some of my clients, the thing I remind them, they're like, well, I'm starting back from the beginning, but you're not, because you have knowledge and you have practice. Yes. That's the new foundation. So you're really not starting from scratch.
The new foundation.
We put that image in our head. And then, you know, there's other things as I talk to people. It's interesting. It's like a pattern I'm noticing, particularly with people who want to lose and maintain their weight loss. They have this image of this obnoxious pretentiousness for people who are healthy and who are fit, and they don't want to be like that. So they end up sabotaging themselves because they like the person that they are. They just want to be lighter, but they don't want to be the person that they associate with being lighter.
Oh my gosh. I was in a coaching program once, and they were like, write down 10 people that you don't like. I was like, well, that's pretty easy. Not 10. It was probably like 3 people, right? And then it was like, there's something about each one of those people that you want to be like.
Yep.
And you not accepting that is preventing you from getting there. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so true. So
absolutely. And that was one of the challenges I just shared with a client is every person you interact with, make a mental note of one thing you like about them.
That's compounding right there.
Yep.
That's awesome. Has it really been 30 minutes already? My mind's a little blown.
Getting there.
It wasn't, right? It has been. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So I have to go run to another meeting. I'm a little late. Karen, this was great. Yep. This was great. I can't believe that was 30 minutes. So everybody, Karen is awesome. I'm about to let you guys know how you can follow her. I'm going to actually be posting some links to get access to the free coaching that she's offering, which is amazing. Veterans helping veterans. And I'm also going to be posting something to where it's going to be a link to where all of her different social medias on how to be able to follow her. So I'm really excited to share that as well. Karen.
One last thing I totally forgot. For coaches who want to be a part of the grant program that I just went through, there is another link that I will include. It's positiveintelligence.com/100x to be 100 times more impactful in your world.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that they should know as far as how to reach you or anything like that at all?
The digital business card link is going to be the best way to get a hold of me in whatever way you want to get a hold of me.
Okay. And then if you could just leave them with one quick tip, what would that be?
You are worth it.
Ooh! Thank you, Karen.
You are most welcome. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to end it. All right, y'all.